Throughout the series of The Handmaid's Tale, June Osborne, played by Elisabeth Moss, and Janine Lindo, Madeline Brewer, encountered a ton of near-death situations on their road to freedom. However, one Hulu streamer is convinced they both should have died in the episode titled Vulture. The viewer questioned the scene of their escape and asked, "Why didn't the guard try to shoot or apprehend June and Janine at the end of S4E3?" The fan recalled, "He shot two handmaids already to try and stop them getting away, and yet just because they get to the other side of the track he doesn't bother?" There are several empty freight carriages he could have aimed over, many in a row, so there's a prolonged gap where he could have aimed as the train went by, they explained. The viewer asked, "The bird's-eye shot shows it's not exactly like he's tending to the previously shot handmaids, so he's not preoccupied, he just gave up, why?" In this epic scene, June and Janine were among the group of handmaids who had been caught and were in the process of being transferred back to Gilead. Due to the route they had taken, the driver was forced to stop as the level crossing barriers were down, which indicated a train was coming. The driver had also stepped out of the vehicle to pee, while Aunt Lydia was sat gleefully happy with the fact she had caught the runaway handmaids. Unbeknownst to her, the women's eyes were darting at each other as they silently agreed to seize the moment and do another escape. In a blink of an eye, the women had jumped out of the vehicle and were making a run for their lives. However, June was filled with rage as she snatched Aunt Lydia's electrocuting cattle prod and held it down against her neck, choking her, and beat her with the stick. Janine then came back to bring June back to reality and pleaded with her to run. As they ran, the driver noticed all the commotion and used his pistol to shoot down the handmaids and successfully took down two women. As June and Janine made it across the tracks, Alma, Nina Kiri, and Brianna, Bahia Watson, weren't so lucky as they were plowed down by the train. This is where fans noticed the blunder, because June and Janine initially stopped to gather their thoughts before they continued running. This is where the driver could have continued shooting the two, especially because there were gaps in the trains, and with his perfected aim, June and Janine would have died. However, the pair continued on their journey and made it as far as Chicago, where they were sadly separated. Helicopters sent from Gilead carried bombs which were dispersed in the abandoned city of Chicago. Although June and Janine tried to outrun the explosives, they were bombed and covered in rubble and shrapnel. June was the first to wake, but unfortunately, there was no sign of Janine, who had to have been buried underneath the rubble. Thanks to humanitarian volunteers, Janine was found and taken to Canada, where she became a free woman, whereas it was later revealed Janine was caught and taken back to Gilead.